Alright, back for another round of Standard with zombies. Gonna keep this hand on the draw. Really could use another untapped land, but otherwise a pretty solid hand. 2 Copters is a bit heavy in this deck. Usually you can't really utilize more than 1 Copter. Let's go ahead and lead on a Crypt Breaker. Opponent led on Sunken Hollow, which is interesting. We might be playing a mirror here, which is like rarely seen. Usually it's the black-red deck, which is the mirror. Could also just be playing against some control deck. Here, actually, because I do the Haunted Dead, we're going to just pass. Normally, I play out Smuggler's Copter because it's just... Smuggler's Copter is kind of like your Delver. Like, once it's in play, it's so good. But my opponent has, like, lands up. If he's playing a control deck... then it's kind of awkward to play the Copter out because he can just kill it. But yeah, now we get to pound the Liliana. Wow, we drew another Crypt Breaker. Doesn't help us against the Liliana, but if we can get the Liliana off the board, it could be really powerful. And it's also kind of good with Smuggler's Copters, like just a one mana card that can draw me cards, or sorry, that can crew the Copter. Okay. So I think I'm going to discard the Grasp of Darkness. I don't really know. The blue-black control decks play like Gear Hulk, which it sort of can deal with. Like if he like goes Gear Hulk, block a zombie, I can like grasp it, but I think all my other resources are more valuable. Like double Copter can be good in a really, really grindy late game. So yeah, let's discard these 2. So I think I'm going to play this a little bit conservatively here. Drew another Grasp, so that's kind of nice in case he randomly has Kaladesh in his main deck. I think what we do is we just attack Liliana with everything to ensure that it'll die through a kill spell. I don't think there's any way it can live if I attack it with everything, so might as well do that just to be safe. I could leave the Haunted Dead back so I can draw a card with Crypt Breaker, but I think this is just getting Liliana off the board is nice because he can kill my Spirit for free. He can also kill my Crypt Breaker for free. Wow, I'm surprised that he did that because Liliana is just going to die anyway. Though I suppose if he wanted to do that anyway, he could have. But now I get my Crypt Breaker. Unless there's a 1-mana thing I can't think about. Oh, a Select from Inspection, maybe? That would be a surprising card to see. But I guess it is like not the worst card in a Gear Hulk deck. Nope, looks like we got there. Gonna just play out Copter and my Crypt Breaker. Don't believe blue-black has any sweepers. There is Flaying Tendrils, but I imagine that's not in his main deck. If he's got that, we're probably gonna lose to it, but otherwise I'm pretty comfortable with my spot. Yeah, he just scoops. I was gonna say, like, I can't really, once you get 1 Amalgam and 1 Haunted Dead against a blue-black control deck, and you already own the board, like, if I didn't have the board, it could be pretty close, but since I already had the board, it seems like a situation where we're in pretty good shape. And this is actually why I've liked Spell Shuffle a lot. There are a lot of matchups where you like it, because it counters, like, against this, you know, against, like, the control decks, they have Gear Hulk, and you'd much rather be countering Gear Hulk than, you'd much rather have Spell Shuffle than Negate, because it can counter the same stuff, and Gear Hulk, basically. So I don't like Grasp. He might have some amount of Kaladesh. So it's possible I want to leave in like a few Sinister Concoctions and a few Grasps. Which doesn't seem unreasonable. Pick the Brain could also be good. Just as like disruption that could potentially like snag a Kaladesh or a Gear Hulk, and then it'll be pretty hard for him to win from that point. I haven't toyed with Lost Legacy. I don't think I want that kind of card in this matchup. I don't like Liliana either. It's just not actually that good in this deck when it's not killing creatures. But I could threaten ultimate against him, probably. Which is pretty nice. And it is like a renewable source of card advantage, though a really slow one. Yeah, maybe I want Pick the Brain over Grasp. I don't really like Concoction when the only creatures he's going to have are Gearhulk. He might side in Thing in the Ice, though. So maybe actually Murder is just better than Grasp. And I could also maybe play Ruinous Path to deal with his Lilianas and his like Jaces. Though I'd almost rather have a Pick the Brain. I'd rather get rid of like a Gearhulk or a Glimmer or something like that and exile them all from his deck. So let's play that, and let's cut a Smuggler's Copter. I'd rather cut a removal spell, but the Copters are kind of weak. Like, you think they'd be good against control, but my deck just doesn't have that many ways of like crewing it that also couldn't just attack normally. I guess it's good against Liliana. Maybe cutting Copter is bad, but I think that in my decks I cut Copter a lot, and where other people always leave it in, and it's possibly a mistake on my part and costing me percentage points. Because Copter's just so good at smoothing your draws out. But I've had so many games, like even playing Black-Red, playing this deck, where I just have like 2 Copters and no creatures. It reminds me of the game where Shouta was playing against Ben Hall in like the top 4 of the PT, and Shouta just literally let all the Copters like get crewed and hit him. Oop. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me relog. Looks like I'm still recording. Hopefully my internet's okay. Because I can record without internet. Let's see what's going on here. Anyway, Shouta had all like removal spells, and Ben Hall had like multiple Copters, and Shouta kept just letting the Copters hit him and then killing the crew members. And like that game ended with Ben Hall with like 2 Copters and no other creatures, and it was just like very impressive. Like Shouta just relentlessly killed all the crew members, and it was like pretty insanely played by him. So that's definitely a thing that can happen against control, where they like pseudo get 2-for-1s by going after your. I'm gonna keep this. It's a bit loose, but I think that Demon is probably one of my best cards to get me going, and I do have some disruption in Pick the Brain. Oh, maybe I should have sided out. I should have sided out some Pariahs. That was the card that is not that great, especially if I'm boarding out like Copter and a Concoction. Actually, probably should have all looked at this hand. It looks, now that I look at it again, it looks bad, but we'll see how it works. Might be a bit too slow. Just because you're playing against a slow deck doesn't mean that's right to keep a slow hand. Because their deck is good at being slow. Like, his deck is good at, like, just going, you know, doing nothing for a while. Where I don't mind doing it, but, like, then he's going to be doing more powerful things than me, like Gearhulk and stuff like that, so. We'll see how this pans out. Obviously, I have a lot of cheap creatures I can draw. And I think Mind Rack Demon has got to be one of my better cards against control. Just to give me as many resources as possible. And also a card that, like, doesn't die to Grasp of Darkness. Forces a another answer. Like, he doesn't die to Essence Extraction either. Yeah, I should have boarded out 2 Pariahs, and I should have had, like, the other Copter in. Well, maybe not the other Copter, but maybe, like, the Rebuff and the Ruinous Path. Opponent not here. Yeah, and I guess I really want Amalgams in this matchup, so it's almost like this bad of a hand. Like, I'd rather almost take a free Maul, see if I can get some Amalgams to make it hard for him. You guys have the luxury of fast forwarding. I just have to sit here, especially when you have a bad hand. I hate having to sit here looking at this trash hand that I kept. All right, here we go. Not the best draw. Can just cast the 3/3 fly for 5 now. Transgressor would be really bad for me. Also would be kind of embarrassing as well, if anything. To think of the ice, okay. So like I said, it probably was reasonable to leave in some more grasps and like probably a Ruinous Path. But Pariah could maybe deal with it. Drawing land is not exactly what I wanted here, but I do get to disrupt him next turn into Mind Rack Demon. So if we can draw some gas or mill some gas, the thing in the ice isn't the end of the world. Like I do have Pariah in hand that it does sort of potentially deal with it. Don't think it's worth waiting on the pick the brain until after I mill, because he could have a counter spell that I want to clear out of his hand. This does exile, which is obviously good against a Gear Hulk, if I can manage to pick an instant out of his hand. If he has a counter, obviously he would counter this, because I just get to pick his best card and get to see his hand versus him getting a counter off his thing in the ice. Smuggler's Copter is what we wanted to draw last turn. Would have been really nice to have in play already. Pick the Brain actually pretty good for Delirium in this deck. I believe it's my only sorcery, other than like Lost Legacy and Ruinous Path, which are both other sideboard cards. Ooh, his hand is pretty bad, actually. We could just take this Obnixless, and he's got not much. Sphinx isn't great against Pariah either. If he taps out for that ever, that's not going to work out for him. Let's go ahead and write this down. Where's my boogie board at? Here it is. Blighted Fen is kind of annoying because it's 6 mana. Could potentially deal with my demon. Fen, Hollow, Sphinx, and Grasp just does nothing. Grasp does kill my Copter, but I don't want him to just Obnixless my Mind Rack Demon next turn. So Pick of the Brain worked out pretty well. Sphinx, Hollow, Grasp. Also, taking the Grasp does keep him off Thing in the Ice, but right now I'm not really that concerned about Thing in the Ice, honestly. Like if he draws into a Gear Hulk or like a Glimmer, you know, he's going to get it off. Hopefully we can either draw an answer or have Pariah in play by then. Though he does have a Grasp. I guess we'll just see what happens first. Not a game where we really want to necessarily have to take damage from our demon. But it happens a lot in this deck. Where, like, you don't... It's not a Delirium deck, you know? The demon is going to be awkward a lot of the times. think my opponent's just double queuing, which is unfortunate for the... Hopefully we can play this game at a reasonable pace so I can still post it. Okay, there's... So he actually drew that island, right? Because he had Hollow and Fen. There's my doorbell. I believe that's for my roommate. Let's play Mindwreck Demon. We know he didn't draw a counterspell. We know he just has grass. We're actually going to get to untap with this demon. Which is pretty nice. Or at least... You know, he can't efficiently answer it on his turn. See what we hit. Looks like we hit 2 amalgams and also got delirium. So pretty good. I mean, we have no way of returning those amalgams, but if this game goes on for a long time, that'll be super nice. And we drew into a spell shrivel, which is good too. Smuggler's Copter. I could not attack with the Mindwreck Demon in order to play around his Blighted Fen. But then I'm not dealing him 4 damage. And if he wants to take his turn, like, Blighted Fenning me, that's not the worst. Though actually, maybe it's a tough call. I really want to loot into like a Haunted Dead or a Scrap Heap Scrounger so I can get the amalgams back. If he lets me untap, though, it's pretty reasonable. So he still hasn't played the Sunken Hollow, right? So his hand is just Hollow, Sphinx, Fen, or sorry, Hollow, Sphinx, Grasp, and an unknown card. Ooh, Amalgam's a great draw, actually. Because I can play the Amalgam. And if he Blighted Fens me in response, I'll probably just animate the Copter. I think the Demon is just better than the Copter, though the Copter is a little bit better against... The Copter is a little better against... what was I saying? Oh, his Thing in the Ice on board. So do I want to run this Copter into Grasp? Or do I want to just attack for 4? Now that this is resolved, I think that I probably just do. No, I just attack for 4. Kind of bricks his Grasp. If I animate this, he can respond. Well, he can just grasp it pretty cleanly. So I think this is the best play. That prevents him from doing anything too efficient on his turn. And if he fends me end of turn, oh, a Glimmer. That is not the card I wanted him to draw. I think I'm supposed to Spell Shrivel this card because it just lets, well, it's really bad. Even this does exile it, so I'm not actually that afraid of him drawing Gear Hulk. So I think I will just Spell Shrivel it. I think that's fine. Really, I was hoping that wasn't the card he had, because otherwise I could just sit back beating him down with the Demon. I also just want to prevent him from getting more counters off this Thing in the Ice by finding more spells, and also dealing with a Demon. Right now the Demon is like a 3-turn clock. He's going to Grasp the Amalgam. Okay, that's a bit surprising, but I guess it makes sense because he wants to use his mana efficiently. Now he can Blighted Fen me. Or play the Sphinx. If he plays the Sphinx, if I draw any creature, I can blow him out. Oh, please let me draw any creature. Please let me draw any creature. Even a Haunted Dead works because I have up to 7 mana. Yeah, let me draw any creature. surprised he sided this in this matchup. Oh my god. I can't really complain too much, but that is just brutal, because now he's got the smugglers. Now he's got the blighted fen. And his last card is a sunken hollow. Did I mismanage that? It seems weird that he wouldn't play the hollow out. Oh, that is brutal. So I guess I play the pry out and pass. If he draws Gearhulk, it's bad. Maybe I still do attack, because then if I draw, like... If I draw into a Haunted Dead or a Scrap Heap Scrounger... Yeah, maybe I think I do actually attack. If I draw a Scrap Heap Scrounger or a Haunted Dead, I can still make him sack both of his guys. And if I draw like a kill spell, I can get rid of the thing in the ice. I'm just straight up suiciding the Copter though. So the Copter is not likely to be very good as long as the Sphinx remains in play. So let's just go for it. I don't love my spot here. I think that I need to make this attack and try to draw into something to return my amalgams. It's a land. Okay, well. Oh, this game was so winnable, and we just somehow lost it. I think I do just madness this out. Because it gives me one more card in hand. If I draw a Haunted Dead, I could maybe make it work. The problem with this play is, like, later on in the game, if I draw a Haunted Dead or a Scrounger, I have no way of getting it in the bin. Yep, that's probably game. Oh, wow, this was quite disappointing. Though I guess if the thing in the ice flips, this goes back to his hand. So we still have some turns to draw something to rebuy our amalgams. Okay, Copter is a fine start. Because if he wants to use a spell that kind of time walks him on the Sphinx. Maybe his last card isn't Sunken Hollow. I probably just messed that up. He probably just played it right away and I didn't notice. That makes a lot more sense. I'm just going to assume that that's correct. So I'm not really sure what his last card is. Sorry, a bit disappointed about how this game went out. This happens a lot though. This deck is just it's so frustrating sometimes playing this deck because it feels like you should get there and it's just wildly inconsistent. I mean, I did flood out this game. Swamp and Graveyard for 8, 10 lands. Not that bad of a mix, but did keep a 4-land hand that was pretty weak. So you're gonna Blighted Fen me? I think I sacked the Demon. So really want to draw a Grasp or a Murder. I think he can't really attack me profitably. He has to also respect my hand too. Like I very well might just have a Grasp. Ooh, I like that attack. It's really good for me. Now we need to draw a creature. Spell Shrivel. Not awful. I think I'm just going to pass back. That attack opened up a world of possibilities. It's pretty much like a free draw spell, assuming I drew a creature. Though I did not. Looks like he's just going to try to clock me. Which is kind of smart, because now like he's got the thing in the ice on a stick. At any point he can just flip that. Actually, I probably should have played out one more land. I'm hoping when I animate he goes for Gearhulk. I think that would be the best scenario for me because I can actually spell shovel that and prevent him from getting a counter off the thing in the ice. Looks like it's just an anticipate, which isn't great. I'm just going to recast my things, though. It does bounce his Sphinx, so I wonder if I'm supposed to hold up Spell Shrivel or recast my things. If I've been playing out my lands, I could do everything, but then I'd have no loot fodder, so I think not playing out our lands was fine. Let's see if the copter resolves. I think I am just going to play the Scrounger out, because if he taps after Sphinx, I could just draw into... I can draw into a Pariah, maybe. Plus something else. Maybe that's bad, but it's going to be hard for us to win this game either way. Though if we draw into like a Pariah and a creature, we can sack the Scrounger. Like, sacking the Scrounger is absurd, because then we get our Amalgams back too, which is like a huge blowout. So I actually like the idea of doing that. Though I guess if he plays a Sphinx, the Copter actually can't really attack profitably. So I probably should not have played the Scrounger. Just waited one turn. Because he can actually pretty safely slam the Sphinx here, I think. Though he might think that I have like a... Yeah, he might think that I have a Pariah in my hand. I've been sitting on these cards in my hand for a long time. Ooh, he Ruinous Path that? Okay. So, I think what I'm supposed to do is just pass with the Copter up as a chump blocker. Or I could attack with the Copter, and then I have Haunted Dead as a chump blocker, which might be better. Because I can do it, I could like play around the Liliana and do it. And if I attack with the Copter, I could draw into like something to play to try to block as well. Or just like a, I don't think I boarded my Ruinous Path, but I did board in my Murder. Oh, it's in the graveyard, that's right. It's a pretty tight call. I think I do attack. Attacking is like pretty proactive. And I could draw Pariah, and if I just draw Pariah, it's like really good for me. I could attack him actually. Like putting him to 12 when I have 3 Amalgams coming back is pretty sweet. Where I'm not really afraid of the Liliana at all. So yeah, let's just attack him. Pretty aggressive play. Hopefully we can draw something. It's a swamp. Okay, so we're probably just gonna die. But I did what I think I had to do. Try to bring back the Haunted Dead and block. Hope he's got nothing. Like, we know one of his cards is Sphinx. Looks like he actually finally did play a Sunken Hollow. Unsure. It's unsure. I wrote it down, so I think it was in his hand, but who knows. I like the tank from him. That means it's probably we're in okay shape. He does have Essence Extraction and Grasp. So if his answer is Gear Hulk to the Haunted Dead token, then I think we might actually win the game. Because like if he tries to cast Gear Hulk, I get to counter it. And then I have lethal. Liliana doesn't prevent me from having lethal because I believe I will have 14 points of damage on board. If he's got a Gear Hulk, he might just have a better answer. I don't think he's seen Spell Shrivel, though. So it's possible that... Oh, we get to block? Oh, we get to block. Wow. It's possible that we just win. Sure. He's not playing Sphinx, which means he's got something. Ooh, Drunk Scrounger is nice, because that gives me 3 more power. And I like that he plus on the Haunted Dead. I think that's pretty good for me, because now if he wants to kill the Haunted Dead to get the Awoken Horror in, what happens is I can just discard 2. Oh, no, I don't have 2 cards. Well, I can just pitch this Spell Shrivel, I guess, to block with it. I think we might have just got there. I don't really know what he could have. I guess Essence Extraction. Really glad I attacked his face last turn. That was pretty sweet. I'm hoping for a Gear Hulk, because that just means we win. And he's doing it before I attack so that he can kill the Copter so I don't loot. But this shows you the power of Spell Shrivel. Like, these decks trying to play Gear Hulk or Avacyn or Ishkana, like, they always walk into the Spell Shrivel. It's very unexpected. And that's just game. Wow. I remember early in this game when I said having all those amalgams will probably eventually be really, really good. And it was. Don't think there's anything he can have. Only card is Dispel, which I can't imagine. And yep, we got there. Sweet.